This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Granic Allen. In Canada, the expansion of medical assistance in dying, or MAID as it's known, has been one of the most significant and controversial developments in health and social policy over the last decade. What began as a limited option for the terminally ill, mentally competent adults has grown into a practice that now accounts for a noticeable share of deaths nationwide, with over 16,000 Canadians choosing MAID in 2024, representing around 5% of all deaths in the country that year. And to date, over 76,000 persons have died by MAID since its legalization in 2016. Under current federal law, MAID is only available to those who meet specific eligibility criteria. A person must be at least 18, be capable of making their own health decisions, have a grievous and irremediable medical condition, and voluntarily request and give informed consent to receive assistance in dying. But recall that the Chief Coroner of Ontario released a report from the Ontario MAID Death Review Committee indicating that some MAID deaths were driven by homelessness, fear, and isolation. It seems people are getting assisted suicide even when they ought not meet the government's criteria. And now recent reporting has highlighted a disturbing new front in the debate, suggestions by some in Canada's medical establishment to consider MAID for infants under 1 year of age with severe medical conditions, a proposal that raises profound ethical questions about consent, vulnerability, and the direction of MAID policy in this country. So, what exactly is being proposed, and what are the ethical and legal implications? And how should Canadians, especially the most vulnerable, be protected in this debate? Well, joining me now is Anna Farrow, writer for the C2C Journal and author of this recent article, The Horrifying Plan to Subject Babies to Medical Assistance in Dying. Welcome, Anna, and I appreciate your time because this is something that isn't on many Canadians' radar, and I think it's something that's worthy of discussing. So, what first alerted you to the fact that MAID for infants was seriously being discussed in Canada?
So it's interesting because I think for most people who follow the trajectory of MAID in Canada, this issue had actually been put to bed, if it were. So it was first raised and it first came to Canadians' consciousness in 2022 when a member of the Quebec College of Physicians testified before the Parliamentary Special Joint Committee. And it was simply raised that the committee was looking at some of the things that are most forefront for Canadians, which is made potentially for mature, what they call mature minors, or advanced directives, which is now currently taking place in Quebec. But so it was the Special Joint Committee was looking at this, and it was raised as just as a single line. And there was enough pushback, I think, and there was enough outrage in 2022 against this that I think we thought, okay, this is not what we really need to be worrying about. People were concerned enough about what that meant. And then, lo and behold, in September of this year, the Atlantic magazine, which is not known as a hugely conservative publication, ran a really interesting article on MAID in Canada, looking at the
Right.
entire thing. And again, she raised it. And, anybody I was talking to said, I really don't think this is an issue. And yet the Daily Mail said, well, wait a second, what's going on? Called the Quebec Physicians Association and said, hey, you guys said this back in 2022, and they went from saying, what Dr. Waugh had said back in 2022, that they were simply considering it. It was one of the things that they might look at, to yes, absolutely. The Quebec Physicians Association thinks that this should be an option available to parents, which was a very
Wow.
interesting framing of it. That this is a medical something that should be in the toolbox, as it were, for seriously ill infants.
Wow. And that is Dr. Louis Roy of the Quebec College of Physicians. And yes, I believe his quote
Correct.
was for severe deformities and very serious syndromes. Again, that could be subjective. What is severe? What is serious? What are syndromes, et cetera? So yeah, it is shocking to read that, and I do recall the Atlantic cover story. I can't remember that it was like "Killing Canada" or something like, or "Dying in
Correct.
Canada."
Killing
It was
Canada.
"Killing Canada," very shocking. Anyhow, we're going to pick up this discussion in just a moment.